Good night. Good night to the good people of Orange Hill. Good night to all who have come out. It is a rainy night. It has been a rainy day. But we are here still to be able to speak with you. And as you can realize, even in this most difficult of temperatures, we know what is happening up north. Some of you have family in Canada and the States, and they're having snowstorms like they've never seen before. And you know, this is, for us, reminding us that we do live at a time when the climate crisis is really having an impact on all of us. It's a little chilly, but I know that the warmth of the content of my voice, I hope, will be able to offset the chill in the atmosphere from the breeze. I want people to be safe, and I want people to take care of themselves, because in this environment, anything can happen with respect to the flu and the cold that was going around. But I have come here tonight to be able to support the candidacy of Romel Springer. And you know, on the last occasion when we met in an election, I asked you, the good people of St. Andrew, and in particular in this district of Orange Hill, to continue the support that you would have given to George Walton Payne, who provided yeoman service to the UD people of St. Andrew. And George was very clear that Romel was the person who he believed could continue the level of representation which he had. For me, I have come to see Romel be one of the most faithful members of Parliament that we have in terms of taking care of his constituents, in terms of finding activities for them. The Crab Night has become almost legendary across this country, and the passion with which he represents you, requesting that services, roads, and all other kinds of activity be provided for the people of St. Andrew is commendable and worthy of your support and votes for him again. Right here in Orange Hill, you know that the roads have been the subject of repair for some time, and you have seen firsthand the evidence coming off of the roundabout, coming up, and even going right across, back down, past Apes Hill to Waterhall Terrace. We have seen both the replacement of water mains, and we have seen the repair of roads. The truth is, it has taken a little longer than we would have liked, but the coordination of the services and the utilities is not an easy matter. But what matters is that Romel has made sure that you in this area can benefit fully from what is being done. This, of course, comes on top of the other matters that we have tried to do for him. In Bordens, I took Romel a few years ago to be able to see what we could develop as a tourism attraction, because this parish of St. Andrew is one of the most beautiful parishes in this country. And to the extent that we can make it part and parcel of the visitor experience in Barbados, it means access to jobs, access to opportunities for the people of St. Andrew and surrounding areas. In Bordens, therefore, We have seen the development of the ponds, and we hope with the kiosk there to be able to make this an attraction where persons can come out and where persons can participate with their families in wholesome activity, but at the same time creating opportunities for those who will be in a position to do the vending up there. But it isn't only limited to that. We made sure that the health clinic down in Belle Plaine was refurbished and reopened. And it is because we believe in being able to decentralize services, ensure that you are in a position to benefit from services all over the island, and not forcing everybody to go to Bridgetown or even Speightstown, that these things are important. You will see, and Romel has been a strong proponent of the need to construct again a new police station at Belle Plaine. The government has accepted this recommendation. And we therefore believe that one of the projects, should you find it possible to give us the chance to vote for Romel again and to be part and parcel of this government, should the rest of the constituencies equally give us a chance, that these are some of the projects that we will be continuing in the parish of St. Andrew, the constituency of St. Andrew. But I haven't only come here tonight to talk local, as important as it is to you here in St. Andrew. I've come to remind us of the difference between what we inherited and what we were able to do for you going forward. There is no doubt that there are a number of persons who are working, those who work in the government service. Many of you have already benefited from the fact that this government came with a clear plan to ensure that you were not ignored, that you were able to get 3 wage increases, salary increases in 7 years, and that for many of you who had been acting in positions for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, that we have been able to do right by you by passing legislation first in 2020 and then again in 2025, allowing you to be able to be appointed and to have the security of tenure, either in your initial appointment or in some instances where you have been promoted and purely in an acting position, earning the money, but not yet in a position to count on it being pensionable because of the absence of the appointment. But it wasn't only in that. I have reminded people, and if you don't have a copy of the Red Book, I ask you to get it or to look at it digitally, because people forget how much this government has been able to do. The bus system was in an awful state when we came to office. We have been able to buy 121 buses, and while we are not yet where we want to be, we are significantly better with those 121 electric buses. But we turned around and we also gave people the opportunity, some of the former drivers, the opportunity to own buses under the TAP program and to take some of the older Transport Board buses and operate them as their own, ensuring that we can have a comprehensive bus service offered to the people of this nation. We did the same in our commitment to buy garbage trucks. 55 garbage trucks bought. And once again, this is a work in progress. While we are not yet where we want to be, we are getting there, and we hope that that too will be a decided difference, because we believe that people in this country ought to be able to have not simply 1 pickup a week, but at least 2 pickups, and to be able to work together with you to properly separate and recycle. And that is why we took the decisions to be able to give you garbage bins, which the government bought, those for garbage and the blue one for recycling, and to be able to carry us to the point where we can better optimize the routes being pursued by the garbage trucks, because we can then monitor when bins have been emptied or not. And equally, we have put arms on the back of the trucks to make sure that our family, our friends who are working in the Sanitation Service Authority do not end up injuring themselves, because what can be lifted mechanically saves them from their backs being hurt and from being injured for long periods of time. My friends, I have come here to reflect on some of these things, because when you listen to Ralph Thorne and the Democratic Labour Party, you begin to wonder sometimes that while all is not perfect in this country, if they're talking about the same Barbados. And I want you to come to Golden Square tomorrow night, because it is at that point that we will be unlocking for you plans and programs. My voice is hoarse because true, I have not slept for the better part of 2 nights, finishing up the manifesto and making sure that the program that we have for you is one that can help build on all that we have done in the last 7 years, but at the same time, working towards transforming Barbados into a country that protects the vulnerable, creates opportunities for all, and allows you to be able to go as high as you would like to do, giving you chances and empowering you to be able to make decisions that will make a difference to you and your family. All this talk, there are so many people, especially in the last week, who continue to remind me, and they say, Prime Minister, you may have given us back the opportunity to go back to university free of cost 7 years ago. But for us, I don't think you know how much it means. One lady told me that she had 3 children. One was already in university, and the other 2 were about to go there. And she was about to tell the one who was in university that they could not continue when we came to office. And were it not for the fact that we made the decision to continue that which Bajans relied on for over 5 decades, all 3 of her children would not be in a position to have degrees and to be able to get jobs for themselves and to be able now to have houses, mortgages for themselves. We take these things for granted. And I hear people saying that there is no difference between the 2 parties. And I want them to remember what you had to endure during the last decade and what you lost. And the truth is that if there's anything that the government has done perhaps wrong, it is in making you feel that it was too easy to be able to lift this country and to lift your circumstances up, so that sometimes people do not appreciate the level of sacrifice, the level of commitment, and the level of discipline necessary to be able to make that difference. I warned us that the rain was going to keep coming. And I want you to keep and get out of the wet, because this campaign still has 11 days to go, and there is much to be done. We are only in the stages of unfolding our record, but we are equally getting ready to unfold from tomorrow night what a new Barbados Labour Party government could look like. And I've told you, the first 2 years, 18 months, were rough, because we had to be able to work out how you're going to pay back and restructure the debt that we had. You know it. If you have a situation where you owe a lot of people money, you don't know how you're going to make ends meet, you don't know how you're going to juggle between the cost of rent or a mortgage, cost of food, cost of utilities. All of that was where the country found itself. But we stopped and we said, look, it makes no sense us not being able to do the things that we're doing. We're going to restructure our debt and create the elbow room to do the things that I just spoke about. If people don't have a wage increase in 8 years, not only are they not productive, but they cannot make ends meet. If people don't have the chance to be able to study and be able to improve the level of skills available in this country, the same thing will happen again. If people don't have the opportunity to be able to ensure that they can get to work on buses that were functioning, or that they could get their garbage collected on a regular basis, the country would start to suffer. And when we finished restructuring the debt, the next month COVID came. And for 3 years almost, you know it because you lived it locked down. We couldn't fix roads. We couldn't build houses. Most of you couldn't go to work unless you worked for an essential service like the police or the fire or the water authority or light and power or groceries, because of course people had to eat. So it is only in the last 2.5 to 3 years that we have been able to start to have a little elbow room and to start to be able to play shots that we could not play before going forward. My friends, and in spite of that, in spite of all of that, we have been able to put a platform. Look around Barbados. Many of the people in St. James, in Orange Hill, in St. Peter, in St. Lucie, depend on the tourism sector also for a living. And we have seen for the first time, I am told, the largest amount of hotels about to be built in this country. Some have started already, down at Pendry, down when you go down into Old Town. You see how fast that hotel has gone up. And by the middle of this year, the hotel will be open and people, Bajans, getting work in there in all other types of activities, from literally water sports right back through to working as waiters, working as concierge, working in every category that you need in a hotel for it to function. But it isn't only those two. We have seen the earthworks and the foundation work start at the old Hayward site, where Sandals is going to be putting down a hotel, spending over $600 million US and 600 rooms. We have also seen the other building going up. Pendry, I mentioned. We now have a commitment to be able to do in town more hotels, at least 3 hotels in the heart of Bridgetown. We have just seen the one in Hastings in Caribbean, Hotel Indigo. They have started their soft opening. I give you that because it is the investment in the tourism sector that has been able to allow many a Bajan family to be able to pay their bills. But we didn't just say, come and invest. We have worked with the Barbados Workers Union to make sure that those of you who work in the tourism sector are able to benefit from decent work. And we've said to the hoteliers who benefit from the tax concessions, you need to treat people in a fair and decent way. If not, you will put at risk, under the Labor Clauses Act, the concessions which you have. I want us to reflect and tell me, what is it you can trust the Democratic Labour Party under Ralph Thorne to deliver for you today? I told the others last night in Britons Hill that I am satisfied that Frondell Stewart ensured that he could attract Ralph Thorne to the Democratic Labour Party. And he wanted to do so because Ralph's performance has been so abysmal that Ralph will go down as a worse leader than Frondell. And Frondell is a man of history. He takes note of these things. Can you imagine that you go into an institution, you come out of nowhere, and I can come back to that because I hear Ralph telling us he don't know how he get to be leader. Well, I can tell you how he stabbed the Labour Party in our back. And I can tell you what he did when he went over there. Can you imagine you going to an institution and people who have propped up that institution for decades, people whose sweat and tears made the difference to them being able to win an election, to run governments, and even when they lost elections, to be able to be the only ones in there propping up the place, you lock them out and walk past them like if they didn't exist. If he did that to the people who built the institution, can you imagine what he would do to you who you and him don't have any kind of relationship? It's not right. And tonight, I have said to others that the choice is clear. You can choose a team that is performing for you, that has shown you a difference in your quality of life. We may not be exactly where you want to be, but you can see progress, and you know where you have come from. There was a time in this country where anybody working in the fields as a woman would not have the opportunity to relieve themselves unless they got back to the plantation or unless they had in an undignified way to go away from the rest in the fields and relieve themselves. And this government said, no, you cannot treat people like that. That is how they were treated for centuries. And an independent Barbados, a country more than 50 years old, cannot treat people like that. And in there where, and this government went and got containers built with bathroom facilities and lunchroom and kitchen facilities. And I give you that example because I can move from that and I can talk about how we have taken care of your children who are disabled. People living with disabilities never got a cent from the NIS before, and we created a category called special needs grants. Whether you are a child who got disabilities or an older person, right here you have the Learning Center out on the front road. So you know firsthand what it is like for persons who need assistance, and those who don't know the Learning Center know about the child in the school not far from here as well. No government before has ever been as attentive to the needs of those who are vulnerable among us. But we didn't stop there. Kirk Humphrey has taken the Child Care Board, the National Disabilities Unit, the Welfare Department, and the National Assistance Board. And we brought them all together and we said, look, we have problems across the country. But if every agency just focuses on a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there, you can't make it. But if we come together as one and we treat every social worker as a first responder, we can then have almost 350 social workers out there helping Bajans where it matters and where they need the help. In the National Assistance Board, before it merged during COVID, we said, look, we see too many old people in communities. And separate from the home health program, we need to make sure that somebody is there engaging with them, talking with them, taking care of them. And we introduced the Community Elder Care Program. This program isn't just something minor. It costs us almost $10 million a year to employ persons in almost every community across Barbados to be able to take care of some of the elderly persons. And we know that it is a strain. The last Thursday before I asked for Parliament to be dissolved, Kirk Humphrey brought a piece of legislation that is about taking care of the older people in this country and making sure that people do not abuse them and people do not take advantage of them. My friends, is this not a government working for you? This is not idle conversation. I can go on and on. People own their houses about here in this district. Many of you had to pay land tax when we first came in. If your house was worth $150,000 or more. Today, anybody whose house is worth less than $300,000, you do not pay a cent in land tax. And if you have a house worth more than that, you do not pay land tax on the first $300,000. But, you know, it doesn't stop there. Because so confident were we in the management of this economy and this country that we promise you, not as idle words, but we passed a law that said that come April 2026, this year, that amount will rise to $400,000. So anybody who got a house, and there are many in this community whose houses are worth less than $400,000, you don't have to pay a cent. Now they want to tell you that you shouldn't pay no taxes at all. But explain to me how that gonna work. Because it's the taxes that pay the police. It's the taxes that give you health care. It's the taxes that give your children access to school. And if you don't have the government doing it, it then means that you as an individual got to go and look for all that money on your own. But we belong to a political party that recognizes that you help those who can least help themselves. And that for the rest, those who are carrying a little bit but have a lot of capacity, sometimes we ask you to carry a little more, because if people are not living in a country that is stable, the country then cannot be safe. And this is the agreement, this is the compact that we have with one another. And that is why from Grantley Adams to Errol Barrow and every other leader, providing free education, providing subsidized housing, giving people the opportunity to buy their land at 10 cents a square foot, all of these things matter, because that is the only way we have been able to lift you out and to give you the opportunity to move from poverty to middle class, and from middle class to wherever you want to soar. And what do we have instead? A David Eswick on a platform talking about whores and pimps, and Ralph Thorne being pious and sanctimonious to this day, and to my knowledge, has not told David Eswick, my man, you are out of order. Apologize to the women of this country for treating them so. I pointed out last night in Britain's Hill that what made it even worse is the comments made by the man who wants to run in the city of Bridgetown, who explained his family's own peculiar circumstances. And you would think, therefore, that there would be a sensitivity to using language like that and making attacks like that. But I say to you that for them, it is business as usual. And what have they learned in the last 7, 8 years? Certainly not anything that would cause you to believe that they are a changed group of people. So my friends, tonight is a rainy night. And we are conscious that I'm asking you to meet me in Golden Square tomorrow. I do not want you to catch no sniffles. I do not want you to get no fever. And I want to go and rest my voice, because I have so much to tell you tomorrow and so much to share with you. And I am satisfied that when you see what the Barbados Labour Party is proposing to do, to continue the work that we have done in the last few years in mission transformation, and when you see what we are proposing to do to add to that work, in terms of making sure that the Queen Elizabeth Hospital can be expanded and improved, not just in terms of physical infrastructure, not just in terms of equipment, not just in terms of almost 300 new posts to hire critical skills to be able to deliver quality health care, but also to focus on the small things that matter, the communication that's necessary so that you know what's happening if you got somebody and they're sick and don't have to go yourself and be anxious and worry about what's happening. The accountability and the compassion. Because it is not just in the large things that we must make a difference, but it is in the small things that we do. I have found myself having also to explain to people that when you are seeking to recover from way, way down as a result of the lost decade, you cannot do everything all at once. But you can all set about to making sure that eventually everybody will have an opportunity to benefit. I give the example of cooking a pot of food, and everybody can't go at the pot to serve themselves. You cook a big pot of pillau and you've got 30 people to eat. All 30 can't take out the rice at the same time. If not, all go spill on the ground. But we accept that while 1 and 2 and 3 people may go at once, that ultimately everybody will eat a food. And it is no different with the provision of services. There are some constituencies where the provision of water tanks and reservoirs took priority. There are some areas where we had to make sure that the buses got in. There are some areas where water mains had to be taken, not even by our own planning, but because Barbados has aged water infrastructure. The pipe's old. It means that sometimes things will happen. You were planning to fix pipes on the main road out there, but pipes down inside blow and burst, and you have to now be diverted to go and do it. I well remember in this community up the hill what happened when the freak storm came. 49,000 lightning strikes in 2 hours. People's houses destroyed. Some the roof off alone, others the entire house gone. I know what it is to walk with you, and I know what it is to get the Rural and Urban Development Commissions and the National Housing Commission with the freak storm, and again with Hurricane Elsa. And all the houses that we wanted to build first from scratch, you had to pause and go and help people who no longer had safe shelter because of the freak storm and the hurricane. Over 2,700 people, 2,700 houses between the two affected, to the point where we had to put people in the Labour College, put people in Codrington College, put people in other facilities because they had nowhere to go. And if you're doing that, it means you've been diverted away from the plans that you had originally to be able to make a difference. So, ladies and gentlemen, the good people of St. Andrew, I started this presentation by telling you about the difference that Romel Springer has made, making a case for you, ensuring that in the provision of roads, or in the provision of facilities, or in the provision of replacement of water mains, or in the provision of bus services, that he has been there making and arguing and getting for you the benefit of all of these things. I believe that a good turn deserves another. And I ask you, therefore, to hold him. I need Romel Springer back in Parliament with us. He has been able to help Santia in the Ministry of Public Works at a time when that ministry has been more challenged than any other time. We have had also to deal with bridges that have not been touched, not been maintained for decades. And he has to the task manfully come and communicated with you, while at the same time ensuring that the work, the plans and designs, you can't just wake up and decide you're going to send equipment on a bridge that breaks down. You need to get designs. When you're doing new roads and you've got to widen it, you need to get surveys. And these things take time. There's not a fella out here who could build a house in under a few months to live in, because we know it takes time. And therefore, some of the unreasonable expectations that are being fueled by people who don't want to understand the reality is really because they have nothing else to complain about. Because in all that we have done, it has been first to stabilize you, to see the country grow. 18 straight quarters of growth. And that's not me talking. That's the governor of the central bank. But what makes this even more ludicrous is that Ralph Thorne last night in Oistins cursing the governor of the central bank because he gives his professional opinion that to give back people and to reduce VAT will not lead to any additional money really in your pocket, because once prices go up, very, very rarely do merchants bring them back down. And while government will get less taxes, you will not get the benefit of the reduced prices by the reduction in VAT. I want you to come to Golden Square tomorrow night and let me show you how it is done. And let me show you how we can put money back in your pockets in this country without having a lot of hot air and long talk. And if you didn't want to believe the governor of the central bank, Troy Lord from the university came out today and backed Dr. Greenwich in the same thing that he said. Now, I don't know about you, but I know Ralph Thorne as an actor, not as an economist. I know Ralph Thorne like the A word for acting, not for arithmetic. So he can't advise me on anything that he will do with you, this economy, and your pockets, and I believe him, because not even in the House of Assembly is he comfortable speaking on any economic matter. You bring an economic bill in Parliament, and Ralph will find everything else to talk about, but make sure that he does not collide with the facts at all, at all, at all. So, my friends, on the 11th of February, I will not get a chance to be back here in St. Andrew, more likely than not. I hear this talk that you good, we safe. And I will tell you, as I will say on every other platform between now and then, I have never seen a ballot box open with any votes in it. If you do not give him your vote, the support means nothing. Support is flour. Votes is cake. You cannot eat flour. And what is important is that we recognize that those of you who are working with Romel, go about your business and make sure that you are in a position not just to canvass, but also to take persons where necessary to vote and to make sure that the turnout is there. We ask you to help us to help you. And I say to you that Romel Springer has more than delivered, and I feel confident as his leader to ask you yet again to give Romel Springer your vote and to allow this Barbados Labour Party government to return to lead in a world that is facing the most challenging of times in 80 years. And you do not wait until the storm clouds have come together and until the rain has started to look for a man who does not know what he's doing. You look for strong, experienced, decisive leadership, not just from me, but from the entire team that I have the honor to lead. And I tell you, it is a team of the times. Let Romel Springer be a part of that team with your vote. Good night, and God bless you.